One of our snakes is laying eggs right now.
It's one of our pied ball pythons, and she's a first-time mom, so the process can be a little bit difficult for her.
But she's doing great. She's got one egg out so far. So she decided to take a little rest before pushing the next one out. You could see how all of her muscles rhythmically contract as it pushes that egg forward toward her cloaca. Now remember that snake eggs are soft. They're not hard like chicken eggs. So the soft, flexible egg makes it a little bit easier for her to push out. But it is still an incredible amount of work. The next egg is starting to come out.
Her muscles continue to contract as she pushes that egg out of her body. With one final push, she lifts her tail and another egg is out.
After laying this egg, she laid 2 more for a total of 4 eggs, which is a small clutch, but all of the eggs look viable. So for a first-time mom, I'm proud of her.
Now we have to candle the eggs and rotate them so the embryo is facing up, and then I'll mark them all with an X.
I marked them so we know where the embryo is because we want the embryo facing up throughout the entire incubation process. So if the egg accidentally rolls, we know which way is up. If all goes well, in about 55 to 60 days, these eggs will hatch. And because both parents were pieds, all of the babies in this clutch should be a pied combination.
I'm going to get these eggs in the incubator, but we'll check up on them again soon.
This is the ugliest egg that I've ever seen.
These ball python eggs are on day 22 of incubation, and one of the eggs looks, well, ugly.
This clutch of eggs came from one of my pied ball pythons. It's actually the clutch of eggs that I was able to catch the snake laying. It's a smaller clutch from a first-time mom. It's not the greatest looking clutch, but overall it doesn't look too bad, except for our ugly egg. Now it doesn't appear to be dehydrated. It looks like it just calcified weird, leaving the egg covered in bumps and craters.
I don't see any mold growing, which is a great sign, but let's take a look at what's going on inside of the egg.
Using a technique called candling, I hold a flashlight up against the eggshell to see how the snake is developing inside. I could see that all of the eggs still have nice strong veins, and I'm even noticing some movement in the eggs, including the ugly egg, which is exactly what we want to see at this point of incubation. Despite that egg being a little bit concerning, there's nothing at this point we could really do about it. We just have to keep incubating.
I expect these eggs to hatch in about 30 to 35 days, so I'm going to get them back in the incubator, but we'll check up on them again soon.
I really don't like the way our ugly egg is looking.
This clutch of ball python eggs is now on day 30 of incubation, so we're at the halfway point, but our ugly egg I think is starting to look uglier.
Now, like many of you, I hope that the most beautiful snake of the clutch hatches out of the ugly egg, but we'll have to see if that egg could even make it through another 30 days.
The egg almost looks as if it's dehydrated.
But when I check the substrate, it appears to be holding plenty of moisture. When I squeeze a handful of the substrate together, it should stick together without dripping any water. And it seems to be as it should, but I'm going to add a little bit more substrate just to make sure the humidity levels are on point. The other eggs in this clutch appear to be plump and pretty healthy looking, so I don't think it's a humidity issue.
I don't think it's anything that I have control over. I think it's just how the egg calcified, and I just hope that it could make it another 30 days.
When I candled the other eggs in this clutch, everything looks healthy. They're still nice and plump, there's a strong network of blood vessels, and I even see a little bit of movement. But our ugly egg is very difficult to candle properly. All of the lumps and bumps cast shadows, making it very difficult to see what's going on inside.
I do see some strong blood vessels, so something is definitely living and growing inside. I just hope that it's developing properly.
Our ugly egg has been incubating for 36 days now.
I wish that I could say it's starting to look better, but it's still, well, ugly.
The 3 other eggs in this clutch are still plump looking, so I don't think it's a humidity issue. But I noticed that the ugly egg is sort of collapsing in on itself and making it very flat looking. I measured one of the better looking eggs and it was about 1.5 inches tall. When I measured the ugly egg, it was about 1/2 inch shorter. The first egg that I candled in this clutch had a lot of movement inside, which was exciting to see. The second egg also looked good. The third egg in this clutch doesn't look great, but when I candled it, it still has a strong network of blood vessels and everything looks like it's developing as it should.
Now the inside of the ugly egg doesn't feel like it's dried up. There's actually a lot of liquid inside. It just seems that the structural integrity of the eggshell isn't there.
But it still has some strong blood vessels and I could even detect a heartbeat, so something is definitely growing and developing inside.
I have no doubt that there's life developing inside of that egg. I just hope that it hatches out and it hatches out without any deformities or issues.
Our ugly egg has been incubating for 44 days now.
And it is still rather ugly and very flat looking now.
A few days ago, I added some damp sphagnum moss around the egg because a few of you believed that the egg was dehydrated. I personally don't think that the egg is dehydrated because I've been keeping the humidity levels at nearly 100%, and none of the other eggs in the clutch are flat like this. But I figured it wouldn't hurt to try. And as you can see here, a couple days with the sphagnum moss really didn't make a difference.
When we lit up the egg, you could see that the bottom of the egg was dark and the top of the egg was covered with blood vessels, which is exactly what we want to see.
Because of all the lumps and bumps in the shape of our ugly egg, I couldn't make out anything inside. It looks like there may be a few viable blood vessels in there, but I can't tell if anything is alive or growing. But on a positive note, I don't see any signs that the egg has gone bad, like mold or a rotten smell. I don't think it'll hurt, so I'll continue to use the damp sphagnum moss to keep the humidity levels high.
This clutch should be hatching in about 2 weeks, so we'll just keep incubating and hope for a happy ending.
The ugly egg has been incubating for 50 days now.
I really want this egg to succeed and hatch out the most beautiful snake in the clutch, but I just don't know if that's going to happen.
We're on day 50 of incubation, so the snakes inside are pretty much fully developed. They're inside just absorbing yolk and growing bigger and stronger, getting ready to make their grand entrance, which should take place in about 5 to 10 days.
But you can see that our ugly egg is kind of flat, and there's only space on one side of the egg for the snake to even grow, if it's growing at all.
Let's weigh the eggs to see how much smaller our ugly egg is compared to the rest of the clutch. So this egg weighs 83 grams. And when we weigh our ugly egg, it only weighs 64 grams. So it's 19 grams less. I don't want to pull them apart, so we're just going to weigh the last 2 eggs together. And since they look about the same, we'll just split the weight in half. Together they weigh 204 grams, so that's about 102 grams apiece.
It's not looking good for our ugly egg, but on a positive note, I don't see any signs that it has already gone bad, so we're going to keep incubating. In about 5 to 10 days, we should see some new baby snakes.
Our ugly egg is now on day 56 of incubation.
And the egg is still pretty ugly, but if it's going to hatch, it's going to hatch real soon.
After incubating for 56 days, this clutch is fully developed, so they could hatch at any time now. I could tell just by feeling that these eggs that the eggshell is paper thin now, so it's ready to be sliced open by those egg teeth. All of the eggs are pretty well dented in now, but none of the eggs are as dented in and ugly looking as our ugly egg.
I think I could feel something in there. I don't feel any movement, but we'll just have to wait and see what hatches out, or if anything hatches out at all.
I decided to weigh the eggs in today to see how much weight they lost in the last 6 days. The first egg is down 7 grams. Last time this pair of eggs weighed 204 grams together. Now they're down to 191, so that's about 6 or 7 grams apiece as well. And finally, our ugly egg only weighs 57 grams, which is also 7 grams less than it was 6 days ago.
So I'm expecting baby snakes to hatch anytime now, and these snakes have the potential to be absolutely beautiful. I'm going to get them back in the incubator and I'll update you real soon.
This is the video that I was really hoping I wouldn't have to make.
Our ugly egg clutch is on day 58 of incubation, and one of the eggs is starting to pip.
Here you could see how the baby snake used its egg tooth to slice open that egg. It actually made quite a few slices. Let's take a closer look. After peeking inside, I could tell that this snake is absolutely gorgeous. Using a pair of scissors, I opened the egg up a little bit wider so we could get a better look and check up on the snake. This little one is responding to my touch, and it looks like it's an absolutely beautiful little pie.
I don't like to mess with the snake too much while it's still inside of the egg, and everything looks fine with this little one, so I'm just going to let it crawl out on its own.
None of the other eggs have pipped yet, but I think I'm going to do an assist pip on our ugly egg. For the last 60 days, this egg really never looked good, which led me to believe that there was some sort of issue going on. But we all held on hope together. We prayed that this was going to be an ugly duckling story, and the most beautiful snake in the clutch was going to hatch out of the ugly egg. But as soon as I opened this egg, I knew something was wrong. I realized that the snake in the ugly egg has passed away. But we were right, this snake is a magnificent beauty. But what makes it a little bit harder is I don't see any outward signs of deformities or other issues. Now it does only weigh 22 grams, which is significantly underweight.
In honor of this beautiful snake, I'm going to preserve it as a wet specimen so we can continue to admire its beauty and tell its story.
Our ugly egg clutch is now on day 60 of incubation.
And the baby in that third egg still hasn't crawled out yet.
Let's get a closer look at that little one to see how it's doing. It looks just as big, if not bigger than the others, and I don't see anything that's causing me concern. I guess it just needs some more time before it crawls out of bed. Here you could see one of those blood vessels that runs along the inside of the eggshell. It helps carry nutrients to the baby while it's developing inside the egg.
You have to look closely, but you could see a little bit of this snake's egg tooth.
The egg tooth is in the center of the snout, just above the mouth. This one actually looks smaller than others that I've seen, so I'm wondering if it's a leftover piece or something else. An egg tooth is not a true tooth because it's not anchored to the jaw. It's more of a temporary scale modification, and after the snake hatches, it falls out or is reabsorbed and we never see it again.
Unfortunately, we did lose one egg in this clutch, but I am real happy with the way the rest of this clutch is turning out. I'm going to get these little guys back in the incubator, but we'll check up on them again tomorrow.
This clutch of ball pythons have been incubating for 61 days and finally they're all out of their eggs.
Despite losing one of the eggs, I'm happy with how this clutch turned out. These babies look amazing.
But their journey's not over yet. Next we need to get them ready for their first shed and then their first meal. These babies are nice and big and healthy looking. So after they shed, I expect them to take a meal pretty quickly. The first baby that I showed you today is considered a low white pied because it doesn't have a whole lot of white on it. I would consider these other two average or medium. But regardless, they're absolutely stunning, and even more importantly, they're healthy.
Let's change out the substrate now to get them ready for their first shed.
The way I like to do this is set the snakes on a damp or wet paper towel. This will keep the humidity nice and high. I'll keep all of the snakes together and put them back into the incubator. This will not only keep the humidity levels high, but it'll also keep them nice and warm. It usually takes 7 days, give or take, for the babies to shed. After the babies shed, that's when I'll separate them into their own enclosures and then offer them their first meal.
I'm going to get them back into the incubator, but I'll update you soon.
The snakes from our ugly egg clutch are about to shed.
These snakes hatched just a few days ago, and if you look closely, you can see that they're getting ready to shed.
They're sort of shiny and their colors are muted, and they have a pink color to their bellies. I'm keeping them on a damp paper towel, but it's dried up, so I'm going to re-wet the towel. That'll keep it nice and humid inside of the egg box. Maintaining a high level of humidity is critical for snakes to have a good shed.
And it looks like we did a great job, because the next day these snakes shed out perfectly.
And now you could really see how much more vibrant and bright they are compared to how they looked earlier in the video. After crawling out of their eggs, it took these snakes about 6 days to shed. And now that they've all shed, it's time to move on to the next big step, getting them to eat.
Typically, I find that ball pythons aren't interested in eating until about a week after they have their first shed.
So what I'm going to do now is separate all of the snakes into their own enclosures. I'll give them a few days to settle in and then offer them their first meal. Losing the snake inside of the ugly egg was a big setback. But aside from that, I think that this clutch turned out amazing. These 3 snakes look big, strong, and healthy.
So I'll consider this clutch a success. I'm going to get these snakes into their own enclosures and then offer them their first meal.